Welcome back to the Meeple Marathon. Today we are going to be talking about CMON's Clash for Eternia. This is the Masters of the Universe game. I'm going to be talking about how to play solo. So I'm going to go over their rules first, the official way how to play, and then I'm going to talk about how I've been playing. I think that how I've been playing could use a little work, probably some custom cards, but otherwise I feel like runs a little bit more smoothly and is not quite so swingy in how intense the AI can come after you. So before I get started here with CMON's official rules, I just want to point out that there is still a lot of ambiguity out there as to how you should do certain things. There's two clearly listed different ways to do like the strategy activation, aka I'm talking about the number of cards you flip over. I know people have said that CMON is confirmed, but I don't think CMON has honestly taken a look at it. So take all of this into consideration when I'm going over these. In my opinion, this is not the best way to play, but this is a great system. This is a great game. And I think what they've given us here, the miniatures and the cards and everything else, the system is very straightforward and is open to a lot of interpretation that allows you to play in a way that best suits you. So, all right, with all that out of the way, let's get started. So when you are playing CMON's version of the solo rules, you're going to, no matter what, make sure you get the character cards that say AI character on them. It's going to say that on both sides, and you'll notice that the AI character cards have nice big artwork on the back and nothing else, whereas a normal card that's either a player or controller card is the double-sided. So make sure you get the right cards that say AI character on them. Also, you are not going to be using the strategy deck or the controller skill cards. They tell you to keep those in the box. So when I was playing that way, I actually was, removing this board entirely just to save some room. And I was placing the power cubes directly on the character mats there. So it saves you a little room. Basically, you don't need this plastic board, but the way I've been playing utilizes this plastic board a little bit. So the way you track the AI's kind of controller power versus the AI individual character power is with this token here. This sits on the HP track, and as you spend power as the player and the AI controller gains power, you just move this up and down the track. You are still going to need the kind of turn order character activation cards as well as the strategy card. And at the beginning of every round, what you're simply going to do is take these cards, shuffle them up, and then place them blindly, randomly down onto the controller spots. Then you, before or after this, can go ahead and decide where your cards are going to go. I just leave mine face up. That way I don't have to bother with flipping them over. But if you want to make sure you're keeping track of who's gone and who hasn't, you could flip them back over. It's entirely up to you. But at this point, we kind of have our turn order established. It is a mystery to me as the player, and it doesn't matter that I can see when all my characters are going. As far as setup is concerned, each scenario is listed as to whether or not it is compatible with the AI game. So here you can see AI, 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 AI. So there's 4 scenarios in the core box. There's additional ones in the stretch goal box. I think there is a way to play the rest of these with AI if, again, some custom cards were created. So all of that hopefully will be coming in the future. But let's just look at one of these here specifically. For example, I have the mountain scenario set up. Most of what you need to know is all going to happen right here, so I don't have the actual board listed in front of you. But here you can see on the mountain brawl scenario, there's 3 objective tokens that give you they give you a victory point if you claim them. Your AI special rules is simply to remove those objectives. This is a little tricky because the first time I read this as the AI has these special rules where they can remove the objectives, and I thought this was purely a kind of not tower defense, area control game where you're trying to control the basic points around the objectives, and so that the AI would actually just come in here and get rid of them. What you're supposed to do is during setup, you're supposed to remove the objectives. Over here, it says once the NPC is placed, change the target of all possible attacks to the NPC. So that basically just means the AI targets the NPC. Again, I'm just gonna go on record as saying, in my opinion, these solo rules feel half-baked. They do not feel like they were play tested. They do not feel like anybody put any amount of effort into them. They just wanted to be able to put 1 to 5 on the box, and so they threw it together. I do, though, think that it is possible to run a skirmish game solo. You just need some more thought put into the kind of these activation cards that we're going to talk about now. So when it is the AI's turn, you're going to flip over one of these cards, and we actually have a strategy activation card first. I'm going to come back to that, and I'm just going to say we're going to skip here to Triclops' turn. So you have 3 characters for the AI. The Triclops is going to gain a power, so you can either put it directly on him, or if you want to use the board, you can put it in there. Then what you're going to do, you have 2 decks of cards here. You have character activation and strategy activation. These are only used when this card is flipped over. Again, we'll come back to that. So you have this deck of cards here. This is going to be shuffled up and renewed every round. So between rounds, every time you're going to reshuffle, take the discarded cards, add them back in, and shuffle back up. You're simply going to flip this first card over and read the text from top to bottom. The first action that you are able to take with that character, you're going to take. If not, you move down. If you've only taken 1 action, then you start back up at the top and read down again. So in this case here, if there is an enemy in attack range, character performs 1 attack on the enemy in range with the lowest HP. They re-roll any misses. Okay, so that's basically like a little skill or bonus they may have that the activation card is giving them. So if we look up here, this is Triclops. And so you can see the Triclops' normal attack is a melee attack. So he's not in range to attack either person. So then we look here and we say character moves 2 spaces toward the closest enemy, stopping if they enter attack range. At this point, they would look to see who can they KO the most easily. That is certainly not He-Man on Battle Cat. They're going to move to Ram Man, who only has 7 starting health, as you can see over here on his board. So he would spend his first action here, and then we move back up to the top. He is now in attack range, so he would perform a single attack, rolling 3 dice. And in this case, he could re-roll this one, and he would still gain a power for that and put 3 hits on Ram Man. Now, there are some boosts listed on their card here underneath their basic attack. These are always going to be boosts. These are not going to be additional actions on the AI cards. So here you can see attack boost, reroll any dice. Attack boost, ignore defense. If defender has no offense, this attack gains +1 success. So before I rolled, I should have looked at this card and said, well, I'm getting free rerolls from the activation card, so that one doesn't make sense. But this other one does, because Ram Man does have a hefty amount of shields too. So Triclops will always spend power. Each character will always spend power if their boost, and they will spend both of them to do a boost and a surge if it makes sense. So the reroll dice one did not make sense, but the ignored defense one did make sense. So it would have spent that beforehand, actually putting 3 damage on Ram Man and still gaining the power back from rolling the castle there. The skills that are listed down here at the bottom are only going to go off when a specific card tells them to do so. So for example, here is Empowered Skill. This one actually, the AI character gains 3 power beforehand, and then it says if the character has enough energy to activate their skill, usually they do because they just gained 3, they're going to do their skill, but only if it makes sense. So here it says target the closest enemy regardless of range or line of sight. Triclops performs a 6 ranged attack. there are some of these where it doesn't make sense, but all three of these guys, no matter where they are on the board, it appears that it would make sense. Beastman here would spawn a Shadow Beast. Skeletor would give one of his other characters a bonus activation. And here Triclops appears to be able to fire off his Division Blast from anywhere, no matter where he is. That seems a little overpowered in my opinion. A 6 ranged attack from anywhere on the board. Anyways, they're only going to use their skill if this states they will do so. There's also other cards here where it says, let me find one. Okay, here. Reckless Onslaught. This allows them to attack and use all of their attack boosts without spending the power, but they're going to gain 1 wound for each miss. So, things like that. These cards, I think, are okay. They're a little vanilla, in my opinion, and this is where they could use some additional cards pointing the AI towards like objectives that are specific to the scenario, things like that, that would allow you to play through those other scenarios with an AI. But either way, when it's an AI's turn and you flip over a character activation, you simply flip over the top card here and you go through it top to bottom as many times as it takes until you have given that character 2 actions. A lot of times early on in the game, you're simply going to just be moving them twice. One thing to note is that according to the instructions, basic movement for an AI character is only 2 spaces, whereas for a regular player character or controller character controlled by a human, it's 3 spaces. That can be a little confusing. That's how I've been playing it, because I would have hoped that they came to that conclusion based on some amount of playtesting and balancing. But I have read of other people just keeping it all 3, just so they don't have to remember 2 versus 3, things like that, and it still works out. All right, let's come back to now when you draw this strategy card for the AI. You are going to take one of these cards. Now, this is where some of the biggest debate, especially early on, was that this card here says draws when the strategy activation card is flipped, perform the following steps in order: activate all minions, flip and resolve 1 AI strategy card, flip and resolve a 2nd AI strategy card. But the rule book says to flip over just 1 AI strategy card, you only take 1 action. Whereas, character activation, you flip over 1 card and take 2 actions. The rule book says flip over 1 strategy activation card and take 1 action. So I think what you could easily do is, do you want to play on easy or hard? Are you going to play against easy AI? You flip over 1 card, you do 1 action. You want to play against a hard AI, you're going to flip over 2 cards, taking 1 action on each. Either way, at the beginning of every strategy activation turn, you're going to take every minion, and it's going to move towards the closest hero and do its attack. So the minions don't have a special AI card. They all activate the same way. If they cannot reach a character in a single movement, they just stop. They don't get double movement on a turn. So that's how the AI works, and that's how a minion works in general. They can make a movement and then they can attack. They cannot attack and then move, and they cannot move twice. It is move, then attack, nothing else. Once again, after you have attacked or activated the minions, you're going to flip over 1 or 2 of these cards. Now these cards here, I think, are the biggest problem of this system, because they make the AI way overpowered. There's only 5 of them, and you're supposed to reshuffle these through the deck each time. So some of these can be devastating here. Like this one here is meant to replace the Empower card that is a controller skill card, which allows the player to spend power to reroll dice and gain defensive boosts. This one's okay. If you roll that one, it simply just sits out there. Let's look at another one here. Here is spawn 1 minion adjacent to each player character, then immediately activate. And this costs, 5 power. That seems like a lot, but remember, every time you spend power for any reason, whether that's removing a daze or, you know, attack boosting or spending it to do an action on one of your cards, the AI is gaining power. So much so that the AI power token here has a plus 10 side, because it very easily gets to that 10, and then you have to flip it over and start back over. So it's not uncommon to all of a sudden spawn one minion adjacent to each player character and then have that minion attack. There is no such card like that in this strategy deck or this skills deck for the controller. So why would they give the AI that much power? Or it says here, some of them here, like here, it says the controller player pays 3 power, the AI character with the most takes 1 action, and then it says continue down. So the way people have been reading this card, and I agree with them, is that you don't just take 1 action when you flip over the command card. You take as many as you can afford, moving all the way down until the AI character with the lowest remaining health heals 2 and gains 2. Again, there's nothing this powerful in the controller strategy or skill deck. So these cards can turn the tide very easily. And there's one more, ambush here. Pays 5, but the all player characters become dazed, then each player character suffers a 4 attack. There have been instances where this card has come up multiple times in a row, so I'm having to daze my characters. Basically, they are left without shielding. I have to spend an extra power at the beginning of my turn, and they're suffering a 4 attack. This is on top of possibly every minion coming at them and all the other player characters. Again, I know I'm kind of on my soapbox here, but these cards are a problem. So, getting back to how you play with CMON's rules, you're going to flip over one of these, do 1 action, and then if you want to play on hard, in my opinion, you flip over another one. That is it for the strategy turn. Other than that, every other turn is going to be a character turn. When you get to the end, you're again going to collect up these controller cards, shuffle them up, and deal them back out. The AI in CMON's version only ever goes after players. They're only ever looking to KO and score via KOing you, your characters. They don't ever go after objectives. They don't ever go after, you know, like tokens on the board that you would flip over to see if it's an NPC. They're simply there to just beat you down. If the scenario escalates for whatever reason, whether it's KOing a character or a new round starts, the AI doesn't gain anything. They don't escalate in any way, shape, or form like the controller would, or like a character would gain their, you know, skill cards, things like that. And that's it. So it's very straightforward. It's very easy to run. In my opinion, these cards just need some work. I think these cards are fine. Something like Disc Division Blast is a little overpowered in my opinion, but these cards are what need some work. So let's talk about how I now have been playing against the AI, or how I've been controlling the AI on my turn. First of all, I'm going to get rid of this token. We're not going to need it because I'm going to use this board. I'm also going to get rid of these garbage cards here. And I'm going to bring back these cards. Okay? I'm still going to use these because I think this is the best way to determine whether or not, you know, Triclops is going to use his skill. Otherwise, you know, if it was there, I would use Disc Division every single time if I was doing what was worst for me as a player character. So I'm still using the character activation cards. I'm still activating my player characters, or my AI characters, the same way as I just spoke. I'm still activating all minions at the beginning of every strategy turn. So the only thing I'm changing here is how the AI takes the remainder of their strategy phase. All right, I'm going to take this Empower card and I'm going to place it all the way here on the far right of the controller board. And it's going to stay there the entire game. Anytime I spend power as the player character, I'm going to, instead of putting it back and moving a token, I'm actually going to give it to the AI character over here, just starting from the left and filling up as much as I can up to 15. Okay, the Empower is going to have its own slot, otherwise everything else is going to kind of be in one big bank. I'm kind of ignoring these hash marks here, and I'll still give individual characters their power. But wherever the strategy card activates and whenever I spend power, I'm going to put it down here. Okay? Then, On a strategy turn, after I have activated the minions just like normal, I'm going to take these cards, and without looking, I'm just going to kind of shuffle them up, and then I'm going to start putting them out. All right, reserves. Okay, so here it has spawn up to 2 minions. It's going to cost the AI 3 power to do that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and spend the 3 power from the AI. It's going to go back into the supply, and I'm going to spawn 2 minions. How do I decide what 2 minions or where to spawn those 2 minions? Because normally it's either next to or adjacent to a controller character, or it's on the edge of the board somewhere. So what I do is I look to see, does a AI character already have a minion next to it? Well, in this case, Beastman does not, and Triclops does not. Skeletor, who's just off camera up here, does have one next to him. So that would be a pretty easy thing. I'm going to place a thing, and I can choose where I want to put them next to the 2 AI characters who don't already have protection per se. Now say this was the setup already, and everybody, each of the AI characters already had a minion next to them. What I'm going to do is simply take this D4 here, I'm going to roll it twice and place the minions on the controller starting points that are similar to these player ones. They're way off camera, you can't see them, but there's 4 of them, so you roll a D4 and you pick 1, 2, 3, 4. If you rolled a 2, the minion would go there, but up there. And if you rolled a 1, it would go here, and then they got to work their way back in. That way they're not just magically popping up next to your characters every turn and doing devastating damage. But you're first going to look to see if they can go adjacent to an AI character. Then I'm going to look, and I'm going to say, all right, can I spend 2 power to activate up to 2 minions? Well, I don't. Okay, so I'm going to keep flipping cards here. I know that I don't have enough power because this next card here that says Battle Plan, draw 1 strategy card. Well, since it's the AI and they can't really hold a hand of cards and decide when it would be best to play one, I have been saying that the Battle Plan card requires 2 power to not only draw a card, but then immediately play it. So I'm bringing back this strategy deck here. I know this is not meant to be controlled by an AI, but let's use our imagination a little bit, and let's just say that he had 2 power remaining. Let's just say he had 7 power. So he spawned 2 minions, he activated 2 minions, and then he had 2 remaining to do a battle plan. So he's going to draw a card, flip it over. What's this one say? When one of your characters activates, all enemies within 2 spaces become dazed. Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to take a token here, and maybe I'll see. I have these extra tokens because I have the expansion boxes for Snake Mountain. But maybe you just take like this token or something else, and randomly roll a d4 and give it to one of the characters. Next time they activate, everybody around them is dazed. You're going to know that as a player character, so you can kind of run away, but just know that that character is going to be given extra powers. Here we have when one of your characters is attacked, spawn 1 minion in an adjacent space. In this case, I'm just going to pick a minion to add to the board, similar to what I did here. So again, these cards are not meant to be controlled by the AI. It takes some imagination to play these out, and there's probably a couple in here I could just straight remove from the game and it would make it easier. A deck of cards like this, specific to the AI, as well as a few extra cards or replacements for these cards that make more sense. For example, 2 power to draw and play a card, or maybe it would be 3 power. This is what this game needs. If I have to make it, fine. If not, maybe CMON will watch this video and take it into consideration. Basically, what I'm doing is randomly dealing out these 3 cards, Command, Battle Plan, and Reserves, on each AI's strategy activation turn. I've completely gotten rid of these. They will spend the power, if they can, to do this action. So here, if this one came out first and they had 3 power, they would move 1 character. How I've been determining which character they move, which one is furthest from the action, which one is furthest away from engaging with a hero. and I will move them. Battle plan again. If they have 2 power, they will play a card. I will do my best to interpret that card. And here is spawn 2 minions for 3 and activate them if you have an additional 2. Now next round, the cards may come out differently. They may come out like this, where you battle plan card is first and then command, and they may not have enough power to bring in reserves. But if at any point in time, for example, I said when this had just 1 power left, I knew that it was not going to be able to afford any of these cards the way I had been playing them. So it plays all of them out. It can't spend any of this power. So it's going to take all the remaining and move it over here to Empower. So that's how Empower is getting its power to spend. Then, how do I decide when to re-roll dice or when to use a defense boost? Well, I look to see, because the Empower action is a reaction, which means it can be done after the dice roll. So in this case, I say, all right, did I completely whiff? Did the AI character completely whiff? Did they roll poorly? If so, and there's 2 power here, they're going to spend it to re-roll all their dice. Or if it's a case of like Ram Man and they rolled 4 and only 2 were hits, they'll re-roll the 2 misses. Or before an attack is made against the AI, if I have enough dice that if I roll well enough, I can KO that character, and they have 1 here, they will automatically spend 1 to give themselves a defense boost. So did they miss? They will re-roll. Could they be KO'd on this? They'll use a defense boost, but only, again, if there is power in the Empower section. Empower gains its power from everything left over after the AI runs through a strategy activation turn. I hope at some point to kind of put this in writing and put it up on BGG, so whenever I do that, I will put in a link in the description below to that page so you guys can see it in writing, print it out, and keep it as a reference. But hopefully down the road, either myself or someone else or CMON will give us some improved AI cards for this and some improved AI cards for this, and then I think we've got something. Also adding in cards, character activation cards, which has them focus on a scenario objective, would allow us to expand the horizons of which scenarios can be played solo. Again, this is a fun game. The system here is nice. It's very streamlined, very straightforward, easy to teach, easy to learn. The miniatures are great. You know, the amount of characters, if you're a He-Man fanboy like myself, is great. So I look forward to additional games in this system by CMON. I would love to see more 80s cartoon stuff. So give me Thundercats, give me G.I. Joe, give me Transformers. I know they don't have the IP to all of those, but I do know they have the IP to Thundercats. So I just think that the AI system here was very half-baked, very mailed in, whether it was last minute or not, who knows, but could definitely use some fine-tuning. Maybe they'll do a second printing of Masters of the Universe and with an improved AI system and have a errata pack for people who already went in on the first Kickstarter. Or maybe some of these brilliant minds on BGG will just do a fan-made variant. That's what I'm working on now. That's what I've shown off here. Feel free to use whichever version you want. Again, I went through the CMON's rules at the beginning of this video. That's the, proper way to play if you want to put it that way, but I'm having more fun doing it my way. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. If you have any suggestions on ways to improve this AI the way I've been doing it, please leave them in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. We will be doing a full playthrough utilizing my rules, mind you, next on the channel. So if you are looking forward to that and you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.